Melissa Dela Cruz, and I'm the author of Doña Esmeralda, Who Ate Everything. So here are my answers to the Q&A. What inspired you to write this book? I loved this book called Lilit Bulilit by Nick Joaquin when I was little. And it was about this little old lady who eats babies and she slurps them up with her tongue, with her like very long prehensile tongue. And she ate so many babies, she exploded. And all the babies went back to their mothers. So it was like kind of this scary Filipino picture book that I also really liked. And so I thought I would write about a little old lady who ate a lot of things with a long straw. And, it was kind of inspired by my grandmother, who was, a great cook and a great eater and had a great sense of humor. So the book is also dedicated to my grandmother, Lola Elling. How did you decide what foods to feature in the story? I really just thought about all my favorite foods. So my favorite food is Filipino food. So there's a lot of Filipino food in it, like lumpia and kare-kare. But also I love Korean food. So there's bulgogi, and Indian food. So there's chicken tikka masala. So literally anything that I loved is in there. And also what kids love, which is pizza and hamburgers and chicken nuggets. And French fries. Can never forget the French fries. What are some aspects of the Philippines that feature in this book that many American children might be discovering for the first time? So what's fun about the Philippines is we have all these kind of crazy animals. And my grandfather was a dentist, but also he worked for the National Forestry Service. He was like the head of that division. And he had all these crazy animals in his house. Like there were crocodiles in the pool. He had a monkey-eating eagle. So monkey-eating eagles are eagles that are so big that they can eat monkeys. And then there's also a giant bat. This bat in the Philippines is as big as a human male. It can be as big as like 6 feet tall. So I had, our monkey-eating eagles and our giant bats in the book. And the Philippines is 7,000 islands with a lot of jungles, so we have all these kind of crazy animals that maybe some American kids don't know about. Can you describe the experience working with Primo Gallinosa, who illustrated my book? Primo is amazing. He's also Filipino, and he is married to one of my good friends, Marie Lou, who's also a big YA author. And I kind of think of Primo and Marie as my little brother and sister because I'm a little older than them, just a little bit, 10 years. So Primo and the way Filipinos are is that everybody who's Filipino is almost family, and especially in children's publishing, you just feel so close to people. And especially Primo shares my sense of humor. He loves all these foods. And I think it's more that sensibility of knowing that, he knew the culture and had my same sense of humor that really kind of did it. And he's an amazing, talented artist. I mean, that totally a given. And he just brought the book to life. The book would not be the book it is without Primo's hilarious pictures. And I actually thought the picture book that he wrote, Who Made This Mess, was so funny. And, that's why I asked him to do my book. You've written books for people of all ages. How different is it to write a picture book as opposed to a middle grade or YA book? So I've been wanting to write picture books for a long time now. Just haven't been successful in selling one. So I'm quite happy that I finally sold one. I actually think picture books are a little harder because you have to tell your story in such a short amount of time, and you have to set up that the pictures are just as vibrant and bring the story to life. So I had a few notes for Primo, and and I kind of hoped that it would all work out well, which it did. So I think I'm much more comfortable in the YA and middle grade space because that's what I know really well. But I'm really enjoying writing for younger kids and being really silly. My daughter said that this book was the most me of all my books. She just thought it was so funny and just had my sense of humor. Okay. What have you been reading during the pandemic to stay hopeful? Whew, I think just the act of reading itself is a hopeful act. I know early in the pandemic, I couldn't even read books because I was so depressed. I couldn't even escape into another story. But I've been reading a bunch of books that have really been entertaining and really fun. And maybe I'll just show them to you. I read this book, A Vineyard in Tuscany, which is all about how this writer bought a house in Tuscany and then decided he wanted a vineyard. So he sold his house and bought a vineyard. And it's amazing. Soman's The Rise of the School of Good and Evil is awesome, and a prequel to his big series. Early Riser by Jasper Ford is really amazing. If you read his Tuesday Next series, which I did, I'm a big fan. Really, really funny. Kate Christensen, The Last Cruise. I love all the books that she's written, and that is no exception. Loved it. Tom Perrotta, Tracy Flick Can't Win, which is a sequel to Election. So I read a lot in a lot of different genres, and I'm just happy to be able to read again and not be depressed. Is there anything else you want us to know about your book? So Scholastic asked me if I'd how easy the recipe is at the back of the book. And, I must make it all the time. And I told them I've never made lumpia. My mom is an amazing cook and she makes lumpia all the time. So she always has these frozen lumpias in her freezer. And I just cook those. Or I just go to her house and eat it. I'm not... I'm a good short order cook, and I'm not the best Filipino cook either. It's a little harder to do. My brother is actually better at Filipino cooking. And if you're good at cooking, I think you can make my mom's lumpia pretty well. Hopefully. I wouldn't know. Doña Esmeralda, who ate everything. Once upon a time, in the middle of a group of 7,000 happy islands named after the King Philip of Spain, there lived a lady named Doña Esmeralda. She had a big bouffant hairdo and was much smaller than you. She was about the size of a toddler, but she was very, very old. Do you know the word ancient? It means older than old, and that's how old Doña Esmeralda was. Doña Esmeralda had a voracious appetite. That means she was always hungry. Nothing ever satisfied her. If she could, she would eat everything in sight. But because she was small and forgotten, she had to settle for what she could get. And that meant leftovers. Lots and lots of leftovers. She became especially good at gobbling up what you and children like you didn't want to eat. Can you see Doña Esmeralda? There she is. She's so small. Doña Esmeralda lived on eating children's uneaten plates and diet soda. To make it easier, she carried 2 straws, one for gulping down her diet soda and one to slurp up everything else. So there she is, eating leftovers, and there's her 2 straws. If you didn't like the taste of tofu, she ate it. Leftover liver and onions, she'd suck it up from her straw. She supped on soggy Brussels sprouts and attacked all the asparagus. She munched on mushy mushrooms and gorged on gooey grapefruit. She feasted on fresh broccoli and scarfed up squishy sweet potatoes. She went to town on tiramisu and zoomed up zucchini bread. What's tiramisu? Ask your parents. They love it. Also, you should really eat your zucchini bread. It's yummy. And she gobbled on the ganneling. Oh, the ganneling. No one likes ganneling. Where did she put it all? She remained smaller than small. Some said it all went to her hair. She did have very, very big hair. So there she is, eating all the foods. Tiramisu. I don't know why kids don't like tiramisu. But, little kids don't. You're missing out. Naughty children began to notice. Naughty children learned that all they had to do was say, "I don't want to eat this," and Doña Esmeralda would hear them. She had ears that were very attuned to what children were doing, which means she was very, very, very good at hearing. She would hear them push away from the table. She would hear the clang of the fork against the plate, the rustle of a napkin, the sniff of disdain, the complaint, the lament, the cry. She would wait until the coast was clear and pounce. There she is, spying on the children who are not eating their food. You know you're out there. Slurp! She tasted the tofu, sucked up the leftover liver and onions, sucked on soggy Brussels sprouts, attacked all the asparagus, munched on mushy mushrooms, gorged on gooey grapefruit, feasted on fresh broccoli, scarfed up squishy sweet potatoes, went to town on tiramisu, and you know what that is by now, and zoomed up zucchini bread, which is very tasty. You should not have left it on your plate. She even gobbled on the ganneling. Ugh, the ganneling. No one likes ganneling, except Doña Esmeralda. She ate every bit. Ugh. So if you don't know, ganneling is a, what is it? It's a ground meat dish from the Philippines that I hated as a child. Hated it. Every time I saw it for dinner, I'd be like, oh, ganneling. No matter where Doña Esmeralda went, she was always hungry, and she was always on the lookout for her next meal. Until one day, something happened that hadn't happened before. One day, she heard something she hadn't heard before. And to find out what that is, you're going to have to buy the book. Thank you.